You have to go a little bit behind that due to the maxim that says um, if if an obligation is not completed without something, then it itself is an obligation, right? So you have to watch slightly beyond the border in all directions. Tayyib, what about a man with a dense beard? What does he have to do? We have to wash. We know we have to wash skin and hair on the face. What about a man with a dense beard? Okay, great. He has to wash the upper surface of it. Tayyib. Very good. How much of the head or hair does a person have to wipe? How much of the head or hair does a person have to wipe? One hair. One hair. All of one hair? Part of one hair. That's right. Part of one hair. What if someone's bald? Khalas, mashi. You don't have to wipe it off. He wipes part of his head. And okay, and I see that you're mentioning if they wipe their hair, the condition is that it be within the boundaries of the head when extended in the direction that it would naturally fall. That is right. So they have to wipe part of the hair of the head. And that's basically it. Washing the feet is pretty straightforward, as are the arms. So now, last time, not only the face, but just it has to fall within the boundaries of the head. La ilaha illallah. Last week we began sunnahs and the connection froze. For some reason, I think this live stream studio is a whole lot of bandwidth because it makes my machine act up. Inshallah, it'll keep up through the sunnahs this week. So we mentioned that the sunnahs of ablution are, and this is in 1.2 of the first handout that you got. Hopefully we'll complete this and begin the second handout tonight, inshallah ta'ala. La ilaha illallah. So he said, sunnahs of ablution are, first, the siwak. You've understood that siwak is a name for rubbing something and the instrument that's used for it. So this is a siwak. And it's kind of a small siwak. It's my spare. I lost the bigger one. I was kind of embarrassed, but actually that's a lesson. You gotta have a spare too, because you lose them. I think the shaitan likes to make you lose them because you fumble for them when you're on your way to prayer and you can miss them. So outsmart him, inshallah. Outsmart them, the shayateen, and carry a couple of them. And anything coarse is a siwak. That's it's in language. That's what it is. Rubbing an instrument that's used for it. So this is a siwak, and going like that is siwak on my hand. But in sacred law, it is rubbing the teeth and what's around them, meaning like of the gums and the tongue, with something abrasive. Rubbing the teeth and what's around them with something abrasive. The best siwak, and why is it best? Because the best creature, the master of the universe, Sayyidul Wujud, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, taught us that it's the best, is a type of desert shrub called arak, followed by palm, followed by olive, followed by anything with a like any wood that has a pleasant aroma, and then anything coarse even just a rag. So the toothbrush that you and I are familiar with and grew up with perhaps is a siwak, technically. In law, in sacred law, it's a siwak, and it's fine to use that. It's excellent. However, don't forget to intend following the sunnah. When you teach your kids, for instance, we brush our teeth in the morning, we brush our teeth before bed. It's sunnah for us to clean our teeth in the morning. So they do so not just with the intention of ada, doing something out of custom, and culture, but they do so with the intention of ibadah, doing something out of service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The siwak again is held like so, 3 fingers on top, the middle 3, and then the thumb and pinky under, and preferably with the right hand. And the siwak is done right first and then left. So the way they say that is like in the Arabic language, 55, khamsu wa khamsun. In the English letters, like an 8 laying on its side. So like a figure 8 laying on its side, like that. So you do upper right, upper left, lower left, and that's 1. Or again 2, again 3. Or you could do 1, 2, 3 on the right side. Then 1, 2, 3. You do the siwak laterally across on your teeth, not up and down, because doing it up and down might bloody your gums and damage them. And on your tongue, you do it lengthwise, and also it's good to do on your palate and as far back in the throat as you can without making yourself gag, doing so thoroughly. And again, so it's done like this. So the minimum sunnah is performed just by doing it once. It's ideal to do up to 3 times, unless you're doing it for a change, in which case you do it until that change is removed. It's sunnah in all times, except after the Dhuhr prayers comes in for someone fasting, though there's a difference of opinion there. Imam Nawawi's personal choice was that it wasn't offensive to do it at that time, but the relied upon position of the school is that after, again, the Dhuhr time comes in, Ba'd al-Zawal, after that time it is offensive for someone who is fasting. Otherwise, in all states and times, it's recommended, and it's more recommended in certain times. Among them is like this: when performing wudu, and also when performing salah, doing dhikr, reciting Quran, going to sleep, awakening from sleep due to having eaten food, and there are many other times. One time that a lot of people may not know is it's sunnah after witr. After witr prayer, it's sunnah to do siwak. And also when you enter the home, it's sunnah to do siwak. Muslim narrates from Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha, Prophet ﷺ, when he would come in, he would begin with siwak. And it's pleasing to the Lord and displeasing to the shaitan. And it was one of the last actions that our beloved Prophet ﷺ did prior to passing on to the highest company, to Al-Rafiq Al-A'la. He looked at a siwak, and Sayyidatuna Aisha knew that meant he wanted it. She moistened it with her own saliva and gave it to him. She considered from her virtues that Allah joined between her saliva and his prior to his death. And they say that it reminds you of the testification of faith at the time of death. And the sunnah to give to someone who's dying, one of the trials that they have is thirst. So mashallah, we should do siwak and do it at that time. Just intend the sunnah of siwak whenever one does it, unless it falls as part of an action, as it might in wudu, falling after the hands if it falls as part of wudu. So it can be considered from the sunnahs of wudu that are part of it, or the sunnahs of wudu that precede it. So it can either precede wudu or be part of wudu. Preceding wudu is the order here, and it's actually a little more simple. And that's how we're going to teach it. You'll see something different in other books, and that's excellent. And you can do both or either. You can join between them and do it before and after the hands, or you can do either. It's all good. If you do it before, you should intend the sunnah of siwak, or siwak for wudu, and then saying Bismillah. Saying Bismillah, which the name of that saying is Al-Basmalah, mentioning Allah's name. And that is sunnah, and in general dhikr is really important in sunnah, in wudu, and has a powerful effect on your salah. So the Basmalah is performed at the beginning, and it actually coincides with the washing of the hands up to the wrist bones. Right? So you're going to wash your hands up to your wrist bones. So you're going to have a saying with which you begin and an action with which you begin. The saying is the Basmalah, and the action is washing the hands. Now you'll notice that washing your hands, as well as rinsing your mouth and clearing your nose and washing your nose and clearing it, all of that, 1 through 5, or I guess we'll say 3 and 4, come before washing your face. And you intend when you wash your face. So then the question comes. You jurists said to us that actions depend upon intention, and that we have to make an intention that coincides with an action. So then where's the intention for our hands and mouth, and are we rewarded for it if the intention comes after it? And the answer is that in order to be rewarded for those, one has to intend for them, like most other works. And the way that one does this is by intending to perform the sunnahs of ablution. This intention, yours differ a little bit, but in your notes, if you like to take notes, like right on the page, you're welcome to copy and paste this to PDF if you want to take notes on it as a document, or if you printed it. Right between the siwak and the Basmalah, you could put a note, state the intention. And the intention is nawaitu ada'a sunan al-wudu. Nawaitu ada'a sunan al-wudu. I intend to perform the sunnahs of ablution. So you state that, and then you begin the ablution. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and wash your hands to the wrist 3 times. And if you like, you could say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So then you've begun the actions. Then washing the mouth and nose. So the washing of the mouth and nose can be separated, meaning that with a handful of water, you wash your mouth from it, or with handfuls of water, depending on the way you do it. You wash your mouth with it, and then with a different handful or different handfuls, you wash your nose. So separating the scoops that you use for your mouth and those that you use for your nose. That's one way. However, it's preferable to join between washing the mouth and nose with the same scoop of water. And the best way to do that, of about 3 ways, is to take a handful of water. And the reason that this is the best way is the hadith is most sound, it's the most authentic, it's sahih, and it's narrated by Sayyidina Ali. And take water into your mouth, or just you would take water into your mouth, and take water into your nose, and then spit it from your mouth, and expel it from your nose, and clear your nose with your left hand. That would count as 1, and then you would do it a 2nd time and 3rd time. Merely putting water into the mouth counts as washing it. Whether you drink it afterwards or whatever. The best thing, though, is to swish it around the mouth, and do so thoroughly, unless you're fasting. If you're fasting, to do so excessively is offensive. If you're fasting, to wash your mouth excessively is offensive. How do we define excessively? to wash it to the extent where typically water would go down your throat. Obviously, because then you're breaking your fast. So it'll break your fast if you do it excessively, and be careful of that. The same is the case for the nose. It's just putting water in the nose counts as washing the nose. However, lifting it with your breath and expelling it is recommended, and to do so thoroughly is recommended, provided, again, you're not fasting. Doing everything thrice, and we kind of indicated that implicitly when we said washing the hands, but it applies for everything, all washing, all wiping, and all dhikr. So you can do everything 3 times. So after washing the hands and mouth, so the face, right? They say about the face, one thing is that it's wider. It's the thing that's wider than it is long. So your face is wider this way than it is that way. In any case, La ilaha illallah. So your face, it's recommended to start from the top. It's recommended to check any of the creases and curves of your face that water would be difficult to reach, such as the corners of your eyes, called al-maqan or lahdan wal-maqan. 2 exterior corners are lahdan, these are maqan. And under the nose, sometimes under the lips, if people's lips protrude, so that as water comes down, it's like a shadow. Anywhere where it would be difficult for water to reach, it's sunnah, recommended to check it, unless one is certain water won't get there without doing so, in which case it is obligatory to do so. To start from the top, and also we mentioned that just watching the slightest amount behind the beyond the obligatory area is obligatory. So slightly up above that typical hairline, slightly onto the ear, slightly under the jawbone and chin. That part that is beyond the obligatory area is called ghurra, which comes from the whiteness in the face of a horse in the Arabic language. However, lengthening the ghurra is also a sunnah that you see as number 11. We're just mentioning it here because we're talking about the face now. So lengthening the ghurra, and you can put this in your notes under 11, is to wash beyond what is obligatory on the face. And that is, the furthest extent is to the forelock and all of the ears, and the 2 sides of the neck. So some of them are going to do the face, state their intention in the way to tahara, this salah, and rub the face. And you can rub up back like that, and check here, and everything. I'm going to do that 3 times, and wash the whole face 3 times. On the face, it's sunnah, as we will see, and that is mentioned as number 9, to comb through a dense beard, and that's by wetting the fingers. And if someone had a big full beard, they would go through like that, and actually taking water in their hand and do so, and comb through it. La ilaha illallah. That is the face, doing everything thrice. And then on the arms, we're going to go in order, but we'll just mention some of the numbers that are out of order. The arm, right? The obligatory area is like up to here, just slightly above my elbow onto my bicep. So I've got, again, all of the obligatory area and slightly beyond, and that's from the fingertips to slightly above the elbow. Doing so thrice, rubbing the elbow. And I'm surprised that rubbing is not in there. Yeah, subhanAllah. He didn't mention that. That should be a note under the face as well, that rubbing everything is sunnah as well. And you notice I rubbed my face, but put that as a note on the face. That rubbing is sunnah, and that means to run your hand that's moist along the limb. And it's an obligation with Imam Malik, so it's one that you should pay close attention to. So again, with the arm, as you would with the face, sunnah to rub. It is sunnah as we see in number 10, to comb between or go between the fingers is a sunnah, as it will be on the toes. With the fingers, one does so like this or like this, putting the palm of one on the back of the other and going through like that. The hands in Ibn Hajar's opinion, or the arms in Ibn Hajar's opinion, and the feet, regardless of who pours, whether someone pours for you or you pour for yourself, it is sunnah to do those beginning with the fingers. To wash the hands beginning with the fingers, regardless of whether someone wash the arms, beginning with the fingers, regardless of whether or not someone is helping you. So for the arms, one could do so like this and go beyond the obligatory areas we see in number 12, lengthening the light of the arms and legs, which is called tahjeel, and going between the fingers. If you're doing it by scooping out of like a bucket or something, one way you can do it is scoop the hands like this, and then as you let the water fall down your hand, let the water from the left hand fall down the back of the right hand, for instance, and the water from the right hand fall down the inside of the right hand, and then go back up. So you move the water around. And then you do that 3 times. You rub, you comb between the fingers, and again, you wash beyond what is obligatory on the arms, which is as far as the shoulders. Anything beyond what is obligatory is recommended, but the extent of that is to the shoulders, and in the case of the feet, you can go up to the middle of the calf, or even all the way to the knee. So after the arms, I'm not going to do. Doing right first is also sunnah. So technically, if someone were to do the left arm first, their wudu would be valid, but it would be offensive. So you can add that as an additional sunnah, starting from right to left in the arms and the feet, and not on the cheeks, and the head is wiped all together. Okay, wiping the head. The way that one wipes all of the head is by placing one's thumbs on one's temples and connecting one's fingers and going from front to back. I don't have it, but if you had hair that wasn't like long hair, but was hair that would turn over, you would come back forward. That counts as one. And also, sunnah to wipe the ears along with the head. Wiping the head is done thrice. There's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ did wudu thalathan thalatha, doing each thing 3 times, and he said, this is my wudu and the wudu of the prophets. So that hadith, its literal statement would indicate wiping the head 3 times. So one does the head 3 times, each with new water, right? And the ears are wiped along with the head. There's a difference of opinion. Are the ears part of the face? Are the ears part of the head? Or are the ears a separate limb? And that's the relied upon position, that they're separate. But avoiding those differences of opinion, you wash them with the face and wipe them with the head. Wiping the entire head. Wiping the entire head is another important sunnah, avoiding the difference of opinion with Imam Malik. Wiping the ears and the ear canals with the index finger and thumb. And fresh water each time. The ears are wiped 3 times. So you insert the index finger into the ear canal and run it along the grooves of the ear, and the thumb behind the ear, that counts as 1. You do that 3 times with fresh water. There's also a way to wipe that's mentioned in Reliance of the Traveler. You can wet your palms and go like that. You could do that 3 times. You could also go deeper in your ear canal with your pinky, and you could do that 3 times. That's 9 times. You could wipe your ears up to 9 times. A meaning of that is an avidness to worship. I enjoy it so much that I repeat it. I'm so concerned about following Allah's limits that in relatively fine details, I do them thoroughly. Wiping the ears. Combing through a dense beard, again, that's by taking a handful of water and going through the beard and combing the fingers through the beard from the bottom. La ilaha illallah, that's sunnah. If someone's on Hajj in Ihram, in pilgrim sanctity, it's either recommended not to do so or recommended to do so very delicately, very gently, as not to pull out hair, because then you have to expiate. Combing through a dense beard, going between the fingers and toes. Okay, the fingers, we go through them like this. The toes, ideally, with the left pinky, one goes from the right little toe to the left little toe, from left to right. And one can do that with each washing, and or one can do that all at once afterwards, and one should do so while some water is running over the foot. So, and going between the toes and fingers is obligatory if one knows that water won't get to those spaces without it. So if someone had feet where your toes, are really kind of squeezed together, maybe someone wore dress shoes for a long period of time, and if you know that water won't get to between your toes without going between them, then it's obligatory, because the toes, it's obligatory to wash all of the face, or wipe, clean all of the limb, in this case wash all of the feet, excuse me. Going between the toes, extending the light of the face, extending the light of the arms and legs, tahjil. Prophet ﷺ described us as ghurra muhajjilin, those with radiant faces and extremities from the effects of wudu. Continuity, that's number 13 now. Continuity means that you wash the second part of the body prior to the first one drying in normal conditions. To wash, continuity means here that you wash the second part of the body prior to the first drying in normal conditions. So for instance, you'd wash your arms prior to your face drying. It's sunnah. It's another important sunnah, avoiding the difference of opinion with Imam Malik. Not seeking assistance in pouring water is recommended. So to do so yourself. And not drying off the water from wudu with a towel or a cloth, because that's trying to remove the traces of worship. However, if it's cold or there's some other concern about wetting one's clothing, for instance, then it's fine to do so. So like in the winter, it's fine to do so. And an invocation after wudu that is really important. This is a really important invocation, a really important dhikr. None of us should neglect it. It's really easy. The hadith is in Muslim, it's sahih. The Prophet ﷺ taught us that if someone makes wudu and says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Sayyidina Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Someone says that, makes wudu and says that, the 8 doors of paradise are open for him, and he can enter through whichever one he wishes. So someone who is persistent in that invocation, and obviously does so with ikhlas and presence of heart, the reward for that is an enormous reward, an immense reward, that one can enter through whichever door of paradise one wishes. And wudu, again, wudu connects to, it seems like a minor affair, but it's actually a very important type of worship. It's one of the signs of the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They make wudu on their extremities. And it's a powerful aid, as we mentioned last week, to presence of heart in prayer. And remembering Allah during it is a big part of that, of having presence in wudu, so that one will have presence in prayer. Our shaykhs taught us that being present in wudu meant 3 things. Knowing that it's worship, thinking about Allah, being present with Allah, and remembering Him. So knowing that it's an act of worship, Allah commanded you in the Quran and Surah Al-Ma'idah, just when you stand up for prayer, to perform ablution. It's a worship of Allah. It's an obligation. Prayer is not valid without it. To think about Allah during it. An aid, a key to presence with Allah is remembering Allah's observation of you. That Allah sees you. He sees everything about you. He's closer to you than your jugular vein. Think about Allah while you're making wudu for Him, and then remember Him on your tongue. At least with the basmalah in the beginning and this invocation and others in the end, but perhaps throughout, and there's invocations of the bodily limbs that you can study with Ustad Zainab Ansari and Imam Afroz Ali, and the beginning of guidance by Imam Ghazali. Imam Ramli of the Shafi'is viewed those invocations as recommended, differing with some of the other Shafi'is, and some of them just said that it was okay. In any case, you're remembering Allah during your ablution, and it's of great benefit. Sayyidatina Nafisa bint Hassan, who was a contemporary of Imam Shafi'i, was the Imam of the world at the time of his death. She eulogized him after his death. She said, Rahimallah Muhammad ibn Idris kana yuhsinul wudu. May Allah have mercy on Muhammad ibn Idris. He used to perform abdu with excellence. He's a mujtahid, 60 khatams of Quran in Ramadan, a third of the night in worship, authored one madhab and changed some of his positions and authored another madhab. All of those great works, and she eulogized him, mentioning his wudu. And in that, and that's this Arafa Billah, this knower of Allah, is an indication of her understanding, and there's a lesson there, a subtle allusion there, that if someone does wudu well, they'll pray well, and if someone prays well, their whole Islam will be good. And also an indication in there is that he is aware of Allah and cautious of Allah's limits, and concerned with the sunnahs in the smallest of things. So someone who's like that, of course, they will do the major things. And may Allah give us tawfiq. There's a couple other invocations you can add after the wudu, basically by saying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna sayyidina Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma jalni min at-tawwabin waj'alni min al-mutatahhirin. And you can raise your hands and your eyes to the sky while doing so. Waj'alni min ibadika as-salihin. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sallam. You can read Ayatul Kursi after, and Surah Al-Qadr, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, 1 to 3 times. And that is some wudu. There's many more sunnahs that can be done. Inshallah ta'ala, Allah prolong our lifespan. We'll have time to do another book or two with you all. La ilaha illallah. So we're going to move along now. Inshallah, you guys have even posted on your notes a second handout for today that is Mukhtasar Al-Latif 2, 1.3, the Nullifiers of Ablution. So our author says, La ilaha illallah. Faslun fi nawaqid al-wudu'i wa yanqud al-wudu'a arba'atu ashya'. He said a chapter concerning nawaqid al-wudu. 1.3, the nullifiers of ablution, of wudu. Al-awwalu, 1. Something which exits from one of the 2 pathways, front and rear, excluding ejaculatory fluid. Many. Okay. So, these are the things that break wudu. There are 4. They are only 4. Excellent. So 4 things break wudu, and only 4 things. Every time we teach, not every time, maybe that's exaggeration, but many times when we teach the book of purification and prayer, later on when we start talking about filth, someone's going to ask us, if you touch a dog, or if you touch blood, or if you touch this or that, does it nullify your wudu? No. The answer is no. You have physical purity and ritual purity. Physical purity is your body, clothing, and place of prayer. We're going to discuss that. This is ritual purity. It relates to ablution and ghusl, a state that you have. It's not related to the physical body. If someone took a picture of you before and after, once you dry it off, you wouldn't look any different. If someone were to look with the inner sight, they might see you as different. But it's a state that you're in. It's a ritual purity for prayer. These 4 things break it, and only these 4 things. Many other things will harm physical purity for prayer, and that's an issue that we'll deal with in its own place. But physical, ritual purity just relates, in the case of minor ritual purity, to the nullifiers of ablution, and they are only these 4. Some other things break it with other imams, but only these 4 break it in the view of the imams of the Shafi'i school and how they looked at the evidence. One, something with exits from one of the two pathways, front or rear. So meaning relieving yourself or anything else that exits from the front or rear private area of the human being. Whether it's normal or abnormal. So if someone were to pass stones, Allah protect us all from that. If someone, anything exits, it breaks ablution, provided that you are certain of its exiting. And that is the case for all of these nullifiers. You must be certain that the thing occurred. The most important maxim of sacred law is al-yaqinu la yazulu bishak. Certainty is not removed by doubt. Al-yaqinu la yazulu bishak. Certainty is not removed by doubt. So anything that exits that you're certain of breaks your ablution. Excluding, there's one exception, excluding ejaculatory fluid, mani. Many we will discuss when we discuss ghusl. So there's a few fluids that come out of the front private part of a human. Many is one of them, and many doesn't break wudu because it necessitates ghusl, which is greater. So something that generally necessitates a greater thing doesn't necessitate a lesser thing in specific. So someone who has had many exit, they have bigger issues to deal with than wudu, because they actually are in major ritual purity. So everything forbidden in wudu is forbidden and more. So they have to make a ghusl. 2. Loss of consciousness by sleep or other than it. Not the sleep of someone firmly seated on the ground. And loss of consciousness is another translation that we use that's a little more precise. That doesn't come to me right now. The meaning of it is discernment, though. And that is a little broader than consciousness. Like someone who blacks out from alcohol, God forbid, they lose their ablution, but they might still be walking around. Or a crazy person, an insane person, insanity breaks wudu. They don't have their senses, but we would call them technically awake or conscious. Sleep, being knocked out by anesthesia, fainting, anything like that, that removes your discernment, your consciousness, breaks your ablution, with an exception. Not the sleep of someone firmly seated on the ground. Not the sleep of someone firmly seated on the ground. So someone who sleeps sitting up, and the ground is mentioned in the text, so I kept it there, but you don't have to be sitting on the ground. You could be sitting on the seat of an airplane or other things. I'll tell you, the point is it should be firmly seated. Someone who sleeps firmly seated, their ablution is not broken, with conditions. One, that they be seated firmly. So you could say the conditions for sleep not breaking ablution are 4. Conditions for sleep not breaking ablution are 4. 1, that they be firmly seated. This means that there's not space between their bottom and what they're sitting on. So 1, that they're firmly seated, meaning there's not space between their body and what they're sitting on. 2, that they wake up in the same position in which they fell asleep. They wake up in the same position. So if I started out sitting like this, and then I woke up on my side, that doesn't work. 3, that they be of moderate build, neither obese or emaciated. So 3 is that they be of moderate build, neither obese or emaciated. Why? Because if they have too much flesh or too little flesh on their bottom, pressure won't be put on their back private part, and it wouldn't stop any wind from passing while they were sleeping. 4, that someone trustworthy, literally upright, which are hard to come by. Someone trustworthy or upright, not to inform them that they lost their ablution. So if someone informed them they lost their ablution while they're asleep, who was upright, then the ablution is broken. And there's actually a difference of opinion on that 4th condition between Ibn Hajar and Ramli. So with those conditions, sleep doesn't break you. Even if you fall asleep, boom, crash, drop what's in your hand falls, whatever. As long as you're seated firmly for a long time, 10-hour plane ride, you're sleeping for hours on the plane, seated up, you keep your ablution with those 4 conditions. La ilaha illallah. There's another point they mention here, which, with respect to sleep, they define dozing and actual sleep. So nu'as is like dozing, which they call the beginning of sleep, or the prerequisite, the precursor of sleep is dozing. And then full-on sleep is a level beyond that. So dozing, a sign of it is that you hear the speech of those present, though you're not able to respond. So you hear them talking, but you can't talk back to them. So you come out of that doze. You're aware, though, of what's going on around you. Sleep, a sign of it is that you see a dream. If someone doubts whether they dozed or slept, then their wudu is intact, because certainty is not removed by doubt, and they were certainly had wudu, and they doubt whether or not they slept, and that matter which they doubt, the breaker of wudu, will not remove that which they were certain of, which is the ablution. And that applies to the other conditions of sleep too. Like if they weren't certain that they moved from in position while they were sleeping, then the assumption is they didn't, and their wudu is intact. 3, skin contact between a man and woman who are both mature and not each other's non-marriageable kin, mahram. Tell you, there are 5 criteria for this skin contact breaking ablution. 4 of them are mentioned explicitly here, and we're going to add more. Okay? 5 criteria for skin-to-skin contact breaking wudu. First of all, that it be skin. Skin excludes hair and nails. Second, that it be between opposite sexes, not between the same sex. Even if some people have trouble figuring it out, alhamdulillah, after 1400 years, those who follow Muhammad, we know what a man is and we know what a woman is. We know the difference, and alhamdulillah, wa shukrulillah. May Allah protect us and protect our children from the nonsense that is out there in this regard. Allahumma ameen. Skin to contact between opposite sexes, a man and a woman, that are both mature.